Philadelphia News, team of my heart.
You've felt this pain before, haven't you? That sudden hit of fear, like everything you believed in could be taken from you. With just one crazy idea, you give your loyalty, your time, your energy to this team, and then bam, a headline drops and it shakes your whole world. And this one, this one hits different. Because if this actually happened, it would send shockwaves through the entire league and maybe destroy everything you've been hoping for as a Sixers fan. So here's my promise to you. Stick with me. Because what I'm about to break down is more than just Sixers news or a wild trade rumor. It's a direct shot at the foundation of your trust in this franchise. And I'll help you make sense of it all. You wake up, check your phone, and suddenly there it is, a headline you weren't ready for. Embiid traded to the Wizards? Your heart skips. You're thinking, what kind of madness is this? You scroll, you read, you hope it's fake. But it's not just some random social media noise. No, this came from Bleacher Report. You know they're not afraid to stir the pot, but this one doesn't just stir it. It spills it. Now tell me, how do you feel when people outside of Philly start throwing around absurd ideas that mess with the soul of this team? It's frustrating, right? Because you're not just a casual observer. You live this. You've been through the heartbreaks, the rebuilds, the injuries, the missed MVPs, the playoff exits. And now someone thinks it's a smart idea to send away the one player who defines this era of Sixers basketball. Look, I get it. You're tired of the disrespect. You're tired of being told your team should just give up and start over. And this latest piece of Sixers news, it's not just disrespectful, it's reckless. Sending your superstar to a team that's still trying to figure out who they even are. For what? A couple of veterans and picks that don't even scream future. That's not rebuilding, that's surrender. But let's break it down. The idea comes from a wild trade proposal by Bleacher Report, placing the Sixers at the center of one of the most head-scratching concepts in recent memory. They suggest trading your franchise centerpiece for a mix of Marcus Smart, Chris Middleton, and a couple of picks way down the line. Tell me, do you think that even sounds like a fair return? Here's where it stings even more. This isn't just about value, it's about timing. The Sixers are not a rebuilding team. You're not sitting around waiting for something to happen, you're pushing for it now. You've got Tyrese Maxey stepping up, Paul George adding veteran firepower, and a head coach like Nick Nurse is building something real. So why on earth would you blow it all up when you're right on the edge? And let's talk about the Wizards' side of this, because that's where the logic really collapses. Washington is deep in rebuild mode. You know that. They've got young talent, sure, but they're years away from doing anything serious. So how does adding a superstar with an injury history solve their problems? It doesn't. It just creates a new one. Think about it. How would Embiid even fit into that locker room? You've got kids barely old enough to rent a car trying to figure out their roles. And suddenly you drop in one of the league's most dominant but most physically vulnerable big men. That's not building a team. That's gambling with someone else's future. You know how much effort it takes to build chemistry, culture, identity. The Sixers have been grinding to get there. That's why this hurts. Because this isn't just a fantasy trade. It's a reminder of how quickly people want to pull apart what took years to support. And the way Bleacher Report tries to justify it, if Embiid gets back to MVP level, it would supercharge a young core. But come on. You and I both know that's not how this works. You don't just insert greatness into inexperience and expect championships. Especially not when that greatness needs minutes management, treatment plans, and trust. You deserve better. You deserve a conversation that respects what you stuck around for. Not a fantasy where your franchise centerpiece is casually shipped away for the sake of a headline. And not when that centerpiece has been the one constant in all this chaos. Now, think about this. How many times have you heard, what if we traded Embiid? And how many times did your stomach drop just a little when you heard it? That feeling, that's your loyalty talking. That's why this kind of Sixers news isn't just annoying, it's personal. Because deep down, you know what this city stands for: loyalty, resilience, heart. And this fake trade garbage, it goes against all of it. It challenges the very identity of what the Sixers are right now and what they're trying to become. And before I tell you who the center of all this madness really is, ask yourself this: would you ever accept a trade like this? Would you walk away from everything you've believed in, everything you've watched, through the injuries, the playoffs, the MVP race, all for a rebuild you didn't ask for? Let's be real, you're not just here for stats and standings. You're here because you care. Because this team means something to you. You've defended Embiid in group chats, argued on Twitter, sat through injury reports with your heart in your throat. So when a national outlet throws out a Sixers news bomb that says, maybe it's time to trade your MVP, it's not just a suggestion, it's an insult. It cuts deeper than they realize. This isn't just about losing a player, it's about losing the face, the soul of this current Sixers era. The one who gave you hope when the process was dragging. The one who showed up, suited up, and carried this franchise on bad knees, bad backs, and heavy shoulders. So when someone says, just ship him to Washington, like he's some plug-and-play piece in a fantasy draft, you feel that fire, don't you? And maybe you're wondering, why do people even entertain these trade ideas? Why is it always your superstar in the rumors? Is it jealousy? Is it media bait? Or is it because they don't understand what it means to actually build something? Because what you've got here in Philly, it's not just a roster, it's a vision. And it's finally starting to take shape. Paul George doesn't come here if this team is rebuilding. Tyrese Maxey doesn't rise to the occasion like he has if there's no real chance. Nick Nurse doesn't take over the bench if the future's uncertain. Everything is pointing toward a push, toward making this season the one where all the noise gets silenced. And then someone throws out a scenario that burns it all down? You don't need to be a GM to know that's backwards. And let's talk about Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton for a second. Look, they're good players, solid vets, proven guys. But you know better than anyone that the Sixers don't need more. Pretty good. They need great. They need someone who can shift the floor every time he touches the ball. Someone who draws double teams before he even crosses half court. Someone who terrifies defenses in his sleep. Tell me, does that sound like Middleton or Smart? This idea of shipping greatness away for stability? You've seen that movie before. You saw it with Iguodala, with Drew Holiday, with Butler walking out the door. And every time, the Sixers had to scrap just to stay afloat. Now that you've got real weight in the East now is when someone says, let's throw it away. You can't help but laugh. And the Wizards, what exactly are they offering? A rebuild? A hope? A draft pick for years from now? You don't build a contender with loose promises. You build it with players who bleed for the logo, who know what it means to represent this city, who don't run from the noise but feed off it. And let's be honest, Washington doesn't have that. Washington is years away. They've got potential, sure, but potential is just a nice way of saying not yet. And you don't pair not yet with a superstar who needs to win now. That's not a plan. That's a contradiction, a confusing mess that doesn't help either side. This whole trade idea exposes just how out of touch national media can be. They don't know your story. They haven't felt what you've felt: the playoff exits, the trust issues, the injury reports, the MVP debates. They don't understand that you aren't just watching the Sixers, you're riding every win, every loss, every trade, like it's a personal stake in your happiness. And what hurts the most, it's not even that they said he could be traded. It's who they think he's worth. Like that's all he is. Like you haven't been watching him drag this team through wars, through pain, through doubt, only to still show up and dominate. That's the part that really gets under your skin. Because when you strip away the stat sheets, the trade calculators, the hypotheticals, You're left with a player who means more than most cities will ever understand. A player who stayed when others didn't. A player who chose you. Philly. So now, it's time to say it out loud. That wild trade idea that's got everyone fired up. The one that Bleacher Report thinks could send shockwaves through the league? Yeah, it's centered around Joel Embiid. And now that you know it's your turn, did you guess it was him the whole time? Tell me in the comments, what would you do if this trade ever came close to reality? Would you back the front office? Or would you feel betrayed? And hey, if you've made it this far, I know you're one of the real ones. So drop the word loyalty in the comments so I know you stayed locked until the very end of this. Kan.